Hi, welcome to my channel. Previously I did a video on how to disassemble an AK-47 underfolder. And then I did another video and I installed this on an SKS stock. Today I'm going to show you how I did the modification. Now before I start cutting, I need to make a template made out of hard plastic. And I drew two main lines. One at the bottom that parallel to this, and then another line which is perpendicular to the top line. Now this line and this line are not parallel. Okay, so and then this, I'm going to make two plates, one on each side, and it's going to be 1.5 inch high, 2.5 inch wide. And the reason why it's 1.5 inch high is because my local hardware store only has a 1.5 inch wide, 1/8 of an inch thick steel plate. Okay, and I transfer those lines on this template, and then I'll transfer that to the steel plate, and then I'll cut it. Now the reason why I did a straight line at the bottom is because I want my grip to be going straight. Okay, a lot of people follow the curve because they're too lazy to cut it and end up looking like crap. And so that's the reason. This is what the end result will be. It's going to be 1.25 inch longer. I find the SKS stock is a little short for me, so now I'm going to take that opportunity to make the LOP 1.25 inch longer. And the reason why it needs to sit lower is because the underfolder is quite a bit wider than the normal stock, and so your cheek needs to have this lower. And then when I fold it, it'll look like this. Okay, let me put that. Yeah, it's gonna look like this. Now remember, when you fold and unfold it, it's going to be 180 degrees on the opposite side. So you don't want this too low, because if you do, then this is going to dip down. And if you have it too high, then when you unfold this, this is going to be too high. So you want this to be as close to level to this line or to this line. Basically parallel to one of those lines. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is make the two steel plates. So I went to my son's and used the hand grinder, and I cut two pieces, and then I clamped them with a vice grip, and then I shaped them to identical pieces, and now I'm ready to cut. Now I'll lay it down here and remark where I want to chisel the wood. Now I'm going to start from the bottom. Now the bottom of this plate needs to be in line with this part of the stock. So that's what I did. I am going to start, and I have redrawn the line using the plate, and I'm about to start chiseling. Okay, so we're going to be like here, and I'm going to start chiseling from the bottom up. I'm not going to go too deep, and I'm just going to take more on this side and less on this side. So this is what I'm going to do. and start right here. Okay, so this is like this. Okay, so this is as far as I got. Don't forget to use the chisel and draw a line. And so when you start removing, that's where you would stop. Now just go easy, go slow, don't dig too much, and try not to use the hammer. And constantly check to make sure the plate is level, and obviously this is not level. So and also this has to be within the width of the sleeve. So I've come to the point where I'm going to start using the drum sander, and I'm going to have to take more off here and level it off. So I'll be back. Better. So I'm going to start off on the other side, and then I'm going to come back over here and fine-tune this. I had to take that little piece off that's on top here because I decided to move the plate a little higher so it wouldn't stick out, and so there's no point having that little triangular over here. So I'm just going to now transfer that line onto this side, and this is where this right side of the plate's going to stay. And since I'm not keeping the triangular, I'm just going to use a hacksaw and just cut a line. It'll be a lot easier. And now I'm going to chisel some of the stuff over here, and then the fine sanding, I'm just going to use a Dremel. Be very careful not to clamp this too tight. As you know, the wood will split if you clamp it too tight. And after you and put some padding so you don't scratch the wood. Don't bang it too tight, too hard, like that. And then use the hand, don't use the mallet or hammer, and just slowly chisel wood like this. Yeah, little at a time. Okay, I also made a decision to cut off about an inch from here, because there's just too much work to finish that part, so I'm just going to use a hacksaw. Actually, I'm going to use a wood saw and take off from here on. Okay. Okay, this way. This is the left side. And this is the right side. And there will be two bolts that go from one plate to another. Do not use force wood screws, because as you know, these wood will split from the recoil. So that's where I have to, this is as far as I go, and the gap is I have to make sure the sleeve fits, and it's still a little bit too wide. I gotta make sure they're both straight. And when you're using the chisel, constantly check to make sure that the plate is straight. And as you can see, there's still space in between, so I need to take some more wood off. And I also need to round this part down a bit, so it'll be nice and straight. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back from my son's place, and I drilled one 16mm hole and 3 4mm hole. Now, pardon the noise. It's going to be a little noisier today because it's 31 degrees Celsius in this room, and the windows all open, and outside is smoky because the forest fire smoke has come into the city. So just bear with me. And when I was at my son's place, I clamped these two with a vice grip, and I drilled a please use the drill press. Do not hand-free drill these holes, okay? They need to be identical. They need to go together. So this is a 16mm hole, and these are 4mm holes. Okay. I repeat, do not drill these separately. They have to be drilled together on a drill press. And here are the exact measurements. All right, 1.5 inch high, 2.5 inch wide, and from the front to the middle of the 16mm hole is 1 5/8. From the bottom to the middle of the hole is 1/2 inch. If you don't have a 16mm drill bit, use 5/8. That's the closest. From the front to the side of the 4mm hole is 1/4 inch, and from the front to this is 1/2 inch to the edge. Okay, not to the center of the hole, to the edge. All right, take a good look. All right. So once you got these all drilled out, clamped, and these are identical because they were clamped together and they were hand grinded together, they were drilled together, so everything is level. Now I'm going to assemble them. It's important you assemble them, and this wood, by the way, it's 1 inch wide, and the width, it would be obviously width of this. Okay, let's assemble that together like that and put it let's slide this in. This goes in like that. What I'm going to do next is mark the holes where it locks in place. But for now, I need to make sure that it's okay. So now that this is tightened, and so this is what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like. Okay. So this is the shape. That's the top. This is the bottom. And if you're to unfold this, it'll go like this, and then a butt plate comes down, and then this is what it looks like. Okay, I haven't marked where it's going to be locked in place. I have to drill 2 holes on the plate below this ring, but right now I want to mount these plates on the wood. Now before I start drilling, I want to fine-tune this plate to make sure it's level, and it is pretty close. It's touching to the left side. So I'm going to try to adjust this a little bit better by checking to make sure that everything is okay. So I'm just going to use a hand file. Okay, let's try that out again. Yeah, a little bit better. Okay, now I'm ready to drill. I clamped down the side plates. As I mentioned before, none of this side of the wood is true level, except for that. Now that the plates are mounted, the trueness would be in the stock. So to make sure that that's nice and level, I put this, and that's pretty close. And then I move it here, and then that's pretty close too. So I'll just move it around till it's level, and then clamp it a little tighter, and that's pretty good. So now I'm just going to drill the first hole part way. Okay. Now if you don't have a 4mm drill, use a 5/32. Okay. Now I'm going to drill the other side. Actually, I have to get another vise. Okay, I got a taller vise, and it's level both ways. It's pretty close, and don't clamp too tight, as I mentioned. Just want to make sure it's level a little bit better. Yeah, like that maybe. Okay, and I'm just going to go straight down. Okay, so hopefully this 4mm hex screw will go all the way across. And it does. Let me tap it the mallet, and it does. Bring that apart. Yes, it's coming through. I'm pretty darn lucky. I can remove this clamp, and there it is. It came right through. What I'm going to do is put a washer and then put a nut. There, I got my first clamp in, and it's pretty straight. Pretty happy with that. Oh, good. It went through. Make sure it's straight. Both directions. Check this direction. Check this direction. Make sure it's straight. Just go halfway. Then turn it around. Make sure that's straight. Make sure you drill the level. That one through. Okay, so I'm all done there. Okay, I'm done with the attachment. There it is. And pull this out. And I have to mark where I want the holes to be. Now the reason why I use the felt pen is I'm going to basically scribe it, and I need to see where I'm gonna be drilling that hole. So that's why I use a felt pen. Okay, and I'm gonna put this is the position I want it to be, and I need to drill 2 holes. Okay, and oops. Doesn't move. Let's do that again. Okay, so now I got it all marked. These are the 2 spots I need to drill. You just need to drill one side, and that's the left side. And before I start drilling, I've center punched the plate. I'm going to check it one more time to make sure. It's one of these things that you measure twice and cut once. So I'm just going to put this in. I'm going to make sure that this is where I want it. And I'm going to double check to make sure the hole is centered. Let me put this in this way. And okay, and I'm double checking, and it's, yeah, this is good, and that's not too bad. Might have to, yeah, this is good. So I'm ready to start drilling. Okay, I finished drilling 7/32, and it's a bit small because they're not going in, so I have to drill a bigger hole. The next one would be 1564. Okay. Also, I noticed something too, that this wood is a little bit too long, so I gotta make a groove for this piece to go in and out of the lock. As you can see, it's in the way and it's not going in. But I knew that, so I'm gonna now use a Dremel and I'll make some space. I'll be back. Yep, there it is. I made enough room for it to slide in and out of that hole. And it is good. Well, maybe I can go a little bit deeper. I have to make some fine adjustment because this lock is not coming through, and it's not aligned perfectly. I put the shaft upside down so I could check to see if it's lined up, the lock, and the lock has gone through the plate. As you can see, it has come through the plate, but it's not in line with the folder. So I gotta do some more fine tuning, shall we say. So, and also it kind of sticks into the plate. So I think I might have to make the hole a little bit longer, wider, and then just gonna do a little bit of fine tuning, but I'm almost there, as you can see. I went to my son's place and I used his drill press, and I drilled 1/4 inch at this location of the SKS trigger housing, and because the drill went straight down and the grip is at an angle like this, the screw isn't located properly. It has to be angled a little bit more because the hole is right here. So I have to use the same 1/4 inch drill, and I have to put a slight angle on it, not a lot. So I'll put it in and I'll start the drilling, and I'll just like that. I just tilt it down a bit. Much better. There, it's coming right through. Okay. Also note, I had to do additional cutting of the front because this is the Chinese trigger housing, and it's wider than the Russian ones. So I had to cut this to fit in. Make sure it fits in like this, because it like that. Okay. See the other side too? It should fit like that. Like this. Should fit like that. Should be a pretty good fit. Also notice that this Chinese trigger housing is plated, and you can see all the spot welding. Not very good quality at all, and that's why I would do it to my Chinese one rather than my Russian one. Grab a needle nose plier and pull the spring out. Okay, now I need to modify the nut. It's a 6mm for the screw. Alright, and now what I'm going to have to do, because the screw is at an angle, I need to have a flatter surface, otherwise it's a very small area that catches. So I need to have a flatter surface, and I need to do it on both sides. And as you can see, I have done this side already. It's from one point to the following point. Okay, you sand from there to there. And now I'm ready to do the other side. Now I gotta go check to see if that's the right angle. I'll put it in. Screw this on. Now remember, this is in an angle, so I need to have the screw flatter, otherwise it's just the edge of these 2 points touching, and that's not enough. I need to have a minimum of 3. So that is the reason why I filed it like this. Okay, and that looks pretty good. Okay, and now I got to drill a hole large enough for the nut, like this. I got to drill a hole large enough for the nut. Okay, now I'm going to make room for the nut, and I need to drill this angle. Okay, so I'm going to follow up with the screw hole. Drill straight down first. And then I'm going to okay, found out that the screw wasn't long enough, and all I had to do is actually drum sanded the top here. The drum sander got it closer, so now I'm gonna be able to screw that in. There it is. I wanted to show you the locking hole that I drilled. As you can see, this is where the internal lock comes through the left plate, as you can see, and then it goes through the folder itself, these holes. Right. Yep, like that. Okay, I decided not to put the spring back in. I know it's a little pain to put it, to disassemble, to remove the trigger housing without the spring in, because the spring usually helps you pop it out. But you can still do it by simply, there's no room after I put the nut in there, and after unscrewing this, yep, there's just no room to put the spring in, and it does become a little difficult when you're pushing this. At the same time, you have to pull up on this. We're coming close to the end of the video, and I want to show you what I did. The stock, I stained it, a little redder than I would like, but as you know, most of this will be hidden, but I did stain it, and I did sand out the scratch mark I had, and also put a little bit of red stain, a little bit here and there, just to make it blend in. It's right here and there, and so it's just red stain, nothing special. It's one of those very thin red stains. And then the side plates, I cold glued them. You can tell this is the left side because it has locking holes on it. The ends of these screws, hex screw, were also cold glued. This grip, Russian grip, I had to bevel the inside so I could get in closer, because the screw was barely touching the nut, and that's why it looks better. And I also cold glue the trigger housing. So now I'm going to put it back together, and the one with the locking holes is on the left side, and this one goes on the right side, and this is a little bit shorter than these two, and the simple reason is because these two will have a locking washer. These are regular washer, but I'll exchange them later for a locking washer. This I will not put any washers, simply because it's pretty close to the stock when I was folding and unfolding it, so therefore I don't want it to scratch the stock. Okay, I normally put the hex screw on the right side because I'm right-handed, and see it's coming out, and I'll just put the screw there. Don't put it too tight right now, like that. Okay, and I'll push the other one through, and this one I'm going to put on locking wash later. There it is, coming through right now. Put my locking washer. Okay. Don't do it too tight right now, because you still need to put this in. Now the sleeve has, one end has a longer cutout than the shorter. The longer one goes towards the left, like this. Okay, longer goes towards the left. Now, but don't forget to put this locking piece in, like that, and slip it in. Okay, so when it locks and unlocks, this locking piece would slide in and out like that. Like that. Okay, it would slide in and out. Okay, the next thing to go in would be the stock. Then you put the stock in like that. Then you grab the sleeve, nope, the shaft, and it includes the sling. Make sure the sling is in place, and slide that in from the left side towards the right. Okay, like that. Okay, making sure, yep, that's it. Making sure that the sling is vertical. Oh, that's it. Right there. Make sure the sling is vertical. Okay. Now, you have to put this locking piece in. Make sure it's the flat end and not the little bit rounder end that points out. Now, how much to tighten this will depend on you. Some people like it loose, so when they hit the unlock button, the stock swings down. Some people like it that way. I personally don't like that. I like it to a point. Like some people like to hit the button and then have this swings down. I don't. I usually like it tight enough so this stock won't be loose. Okay, still too loose for me, so I'm gonna use a punch. I'm gonna keep turning till it's not so loose. That's better. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna have to do is to put the pin in. Now in the outer case it went this direction, so I have to get a hammer and I have to tap that in. I have to go get a hammer. Okay, I use the punch to make sure it's all this pinhole is lined up, and also make sure that that this opening, you can see this opening right here, and so I'm going to tap the rest of the pin in gently. If you have a hard time punching this pin in, then you might have to unloosen this a bit, because it means you're too tight. Yeah, see, this is fine. It does come down, but not too easily. Okay, I'll punch that pin in later. Now it's time for me to do this one right here. Okay. I'm going to have to make sure that this is inside, and it is. Now I'm going to have to make sure this is clear. Okay, now I'm ready to put the spring and I'm ready to put the spring. The spring is already in. I'm ready to put this spring in, and the spring goes in, and then I'm going to put the button in. I'm going to have to, and then I have to put the button in Make sure you put it the correct side. Get the pin ready. I'm going to push it in and use this to line it up. And I'm going to put this in. There, it goes in. And I'm going to make sure it's tapped in. And make sure I'm tapping it all the way down. Just hasn't come through yet. Use a wooden block, and yes, it's come through. Just to make sure, tap it a little bit more, and it has come through. Now I might as well finish tapping this one too. Make sure it goes all the way in. Let me put this one here and make sure that this is put in properly. Okay, now let me check it. Yes, it does work. Let's turn that. Yep, that works. Okay, now once I got that done, now let me tighten this these screws in. Okay, now I'll put the action back in. Put in the bevel nut. The bevel goes front and back. There's two sides to the bevel. Okay, it's a lot easier if I just put it back on the nut. Yep. Like that. Put the locking washer. Now I'm going to put this thing in and press. I'm not going to put the spring, but there it is. It's locked. And if I need to adjust the nut in there, it'll be fine. Take this, put the screw in, make sure it goes into the hole, and now tighten. There. Okay, now to unscrew it. It's very simple. Disassemble that. Remove that. And because that nut is beveled, it's not likely to be spinning on you. It's a little hard to remove this because there's no spring to push it up. So therefore, you'll have to make sure when you're pushing on this button, you need to at the same time pull up on this. Okay, that's how you do it. That's it. So you probably have seen the full disassembly of this SKS Underfolder, and I'll show more of the folding and unfolding of this stock. So I'll have a link on the description. So thank you very much for joining me, and please subscribe.